Hi everybody, this is Kevin and welcome back to another video. And today I would like to share my thoughts on Ys 1, Ancient Ys Vanished, which is the original title of this game. Although I played the Ys 1 and 2 Chronicles edition on the PC, only the first Ys game, hence the title of this video, which I will be playing Ys 2 very shortly and then doing a follow-up video talking about the overall story and if there's any gameplay mechanic improvements in the sequel. So stay tuned for that video in the near future. But for now, let's go back to where it all began. The grandfather of action RPGs, the original Ys, which released in Japan in 1987. And an interesting note, which is why I think both of these games are bundled together, you have Ys 2, which released the following year in 1988, and then the year after that, in 1989, you got the bundle of Ys 1 and 2 as Ys Book 1 and 2 with both games, and ever since then, whenever the games have been re-released, they've been together, which it has to do with the fact that Ys 1 has a cliffhanger ending, but these games are available on pretty much every console as far back as the PC Engine, TurboGrafx, Windows PC, PlayStation 2, Nintendo DS, PSP, even Android and iOS, and then only in Japan on the Nintendo Switch, which, I don't know, why don't we have it on Nintendo Switch? Probably because Xseed has the localization rights, but who knows? I played it on the PC, and you can get it for like $5 on Steam or GOG, so check it out. It is an absolute classic. I've heard about Ys for so many years. I've been wanting to get into it for quite a while, especially after seeing the more recent titles like Ys 8, 9, and 10, because, you know, they're action RPGs, they have the anime art style, the awesome music, and seeing the number at the end, 8, 9, and 10, I thought to myself, man, can I really start there, or is it like Trails, so I have to start from the very beginning? And the thing of it is, every game has its own story, but they all have the same main protagonist, and that's Adol Kristen, our favorite redhead. And not only do they have Adol Kristen, but there's quite a number of reoccurring characters, the most famous of which being Dogi, who makes his very first appearance in the very first Ys game. So I think you probably could play Ys 8 or Ys 9 first, or even Ys 10 when it comes out in the fall. I wanted to go back from the very beginning and experience a true classic, which is what I did. Although I've seen there's various different play orders where some people say to play Ys Origin first, which, you know, is the origin of Ys, I suppose, with the title like that. But looking at its release date, 2006, I would find it very difficult to play a game from 2006 and then after that play a game from 1987 and just, you know, the different mechanics, going from like regular action combat to what was sold to me as the infamous bump system, which I have to disagree and say the bump system is awesome. Like, I think it's infamous from people who haven't played Ys, in that it just sounds so ridiculous, where you can literally play Ys 1, and I'm assuming Ys 2, one-handed. You just move the directional pad, and as the name suggests, bump into your enemies, but not head-on, because if you bump into them head-on, you'll take damage too. You gotta hit them from like an angle, which it just has like that classic Falcom charm. Even going so far back as the 80s, you get the classic Nihon Falcom charm, which I just finished marathoning through all 10 of the Trails games while I wait through Daybreak, which is why I decided to play the Ys series now. But little things that I noticed in the Trails games, and that everyone knows if you played them, when you go back to the towns, the NPCs all change their dialogue. That happens in the Ys games, in Ys 1, where, you know, you'll do your mission, you'll go into the dungeon, and then once you get back, you'll talk to the NPCs, and they have something different to say, which is like, for a game like this, I think that's so cool, because a few months ago, I played through Final Fantasy 1 and 2 with the Pixel remasters, and there's NPCs who sort of repeat their dialogue, like the characters will say the same thing, and you have a game that's even older, because, you know, Final Fantasy 2 came out more, I think, a year or two after this. Ys 1 having more varied NPC dialogue I thought was so cool. And there was so many moments where I was laughing my ass off Like this one instance where you'll run into this guy, Hans, and he says, I saw Pim pick a ring off the ground the other day. Right after that, he went straight to his store and put it on his shelf, which Pim is this guy right here, this salesman. And it doesn't even matter the sequence you go in, but you can go to the bar, and there's another NPC there who says, oh, I dropped my ring, where did it go? So you talk to that guy, then you talk to this other NPC who says, this shopkeeper, Pim, found this ring and is selling it, and you can actually buy the ring from Pim and give it to the guy in the bar, and he'll give you some more money out of it. I think the ring cost 1,000 gold, and if you return it to its rightful owner, he'll give you like 1,500 gold. So there's little things like that where it's got so much charm to it. You see like the important characters all have artwork. There's this other young girl we see later on, Fina, which is actually, there's two girls with blue hair, Fina and Rhea. And Fina has amnesia, which that's like the classic trope in the JRPGs. I don't think Adol has amnesia in this game. I think he just got shipwrecked and he's on his adventure to find out what's going on with these demons coming from Darm Tower. But I thought it was cute that, you know, we have this girl who has amnesia. And it's heavily implied that Fina and Rhea are, I don't know, sisters or either descendants of the goddesses or actually are the goddesses, because in the opening, which I don't want to say it's like an anime opening, it's more or less like still images that they move really quickly. So I guess that is kind of anime, isn't it? They do a bit of an anime opening, and you see them, and they're on the cover and stuff, so that's pretty cool. There's also this other NPC here, Luta, which you run into him a couple of times in the game. Actually, the first time you hear about him, I think it's his wife or one of the neighbors says, oh, that Luta, he has this severe case of sleepwalking. And you actually find him, and he's like, oh, how did I end up here? I was sleepwalking. And then as you're traversing the field, you'll hear the same sound effect that, you know, shows up once Adol takes damage, but it's Luta being attacked by demons. So you gotta move, and the sound gets louder, and you save him from the demons attacking him. And he's like, oh, thanks for saving me, Adol. I must have been sleepwalking. And here you are again in Darm Tower, where he says, I'm ashamed to confirm that, yes, I sleepwalked. I sleptwalked? Maybe a grammatical mistake. I'm not too sure, but whatever. He sleepwalked into the tower and was thrown in prison, which Adol gets thrown in prison here, and that's when you get the debut of his best friend and one of the reoccurring characters of the E series, the legend himself, Dogi, where he just busts down the wall and he says, Dogi's the name and wall crushing's my game. Pleased to meet ya. What an awesome, awesome scene. And you can get an idea for the graphical style there. I love when Adol runs. He has kind of a goofy run about it, but his hair moves. Like little details like that where his hair moves. One of the other NPCs I don't have pictured here is a fortune teller named Sarah, who actually has like a reddish pink hair. And I wonder if she is the prototype for our favorite instructor, Sarah Valentine. You know, a name like that. And Falcom has been known to sort of reuse names and character designs, because I'm pretty sure Yuna, believe it or not, Yuna from the Trails of Cold Steel games, there's a character with pink hair who looks very similar to her from the Gargov trilogy of games, which was before the Trail series. So just some cool Easter eggs like that. I loved it. The music in this game is so good. We've been listening to one song right now that plays in Darm Tower, and this song, even the title of the song is badass. It's called The Tower of the Shadow of Death. Like, what a title, man. What a title. So, I had so much fun playing this game. I have to admit, I played the game on easy. There's 4 difficulty options: easy, normal, hard, and nightmare. And my plan is to play every East game right now. I'm going to play East 2 as soon as I'm done with this video, get it all ready to upload. I'm going to start East 2. But for the older titles, I don't think there's any shame in playing them on easy, because I've heard these games are pretty difficult. Playing it on easy, not really. Pretty easy, actually. So I kind of want to get through them, and then once I get to the later titles, then play them on normal and hard. And I will admit, I did have to look at a guide a few times while playing through this game because it is a little cryptic. Because you'll get to parts where you have to talk to a certain character at a certain time to trigger the event. And you got to sort of transfer items around. Like you go into the dungeon, you find the item, you find the harmonica as one of the items. You give it to Rhea. She plays a song, beautiful song that she plays. Which again, I wonder if that's reference to Joshua all these years later in the Trails in the Sky games. So cool, man. It just gets the mind going. But yeah, there's some cryptic things. The dungeons, I don't really think the dungeons are bad at all. Like, I had no issue. There's like the mirror puzzle in Darm Tower, which it's just trial and error, man. You go into it, if it doesn't work, you go the next direction, and then eventually you'll get there. The problem I had in terms of the game being cryptic was who to talk to at what time. That's where I have my issue. And then I mentioned I played it on easy. Only 2 bosses caused me problems, and the one was like this vampire guy who turned into these bats, and they kept killing me. You know, I couldn't really get the pattern down right, but after enough tries, you get it. And then, of course, Dark Fact, which I think people, even who haven't played the East series, know about Dark Fact and what bullshit that final boss is. Because he just goes wherever. Like, there's no rhyme or reason, no pattern, no circle. I think he follows Adol, really, is what happens. And then the floor disappears, so you can fall down there and die. But, there's really cool, like, attention to detail things where you find the Books of East. You find 6 of them in this game. I don't know, maybe there'll be more Books of East. Is that the proper, plural, or whatever? I don't know. Or Eases. Will be more of them in East 2, I wonder, because we found 6 of them here, and like I said, it ends on a bit of a cliffhanger, and it's like, to be continued, Ancient East Vanish the final chapter, which, not really, because how many other games are there since East 2? But very, very fun game. It's an absolute classic. I think, you know, and I know I just played it, so who am I to talk, but I think if you're like an action RPG fan, you want to be more versed in the history of video games, I think you owe it to yourself to play this. I proclaimed that when I finished replaying Final Fantasy a few months ago, that you should, if you're a JRPG fan, play the original Final Fantasy, especially now with the Pixel Remaster. I think absolutely if you're an action RPG fan, or you just want to know the history of video games, you should play East 1. It's a very short game. It took me like 4 hours to beat. And I think East 2 is right around there. It might be a little longer. We'll see about that. But I'm really excited to play East 2. Even more than that, though, I'm excited to play the later games, such as East Origin, which I hear people say that's one of the best. East, The Oath in Felghana, which I believe is a remake of East 3. And then, of course, I think people really love East 8 and 9, and then we have 10 coming out very soon. So the East games are all relatively short until the more recent titles, so I'm hoping to breeze right through them. And yeah, that's really all I have to say. A lot of fun. I was pleasantly surprised with the bump system. It doesn't deserve its infamous reputation. People act like it's difficult or convoluted or weird. It's fun, man. You just run into enemies. It's so cool. I love it. I absolutely love this. And Adol Christin, I understand why Adol Christin is a legend in the video game industry now. And I can't wait to see more of his adventures, what happens in East 2, and all the subsequent titles. If you guys have a recommended play order, feel free to leave them in the comments down below. But as I said, we're going East 1 and 2. And then after that, I'm thinking of playing the games in release order. That way, like, I don't play East 8 after 2, because I'll get to, like, the 3D graphics and then go back to the pixels again. So I'm going to play them in release order, which means after East 2, it's actually East 6, okay? As crazy as that sounds. Then after 6, it's either Origin or Felghana. It's one of them. And then it's East 7, then Celceta, then 8, then 9, then 10. Then once you get there, 8, 9, 10, it's easy. But, you know, because there's a bunch of remakes. And then 5 doesn't even exist in North America. It was never localized outside of Japan. So, anyway, let me know what you guys thought in the comments down below. Thank you so much for watching this video. Stay tuned for more. And have a great day, everybody. Peace out.
99.